This podcast is sponsored by Fial, your Jaguar and Land Rover dealer in the Algarve. Book a test drive on the new Range Rover Velar in the Fial showroom in Faro. Welcome to the Portugal Diaries podcast. I'm Jen.
And I'm Claire.
And on today's episode we have Jen and Claire.
Hi.
So we are so happy that we've concluded the first 10 episodes of the Portugal Diaries podcast and have been asked to do another episode, just the two of us. I think that seemed to be some people's favourite one, which is really strange.
Very odd.
But yeah, it made sense for us to stop and reflect on some of the highlights from the last season and also give people listening an opportunity to find out more about us. So I have sprung this on Claire today.
Which has been a bit of a shocker.
That I've reached out to some of the guests from the previous season to ask them questions for us. Well, but I'm going to ask them to Claire. We can have a chat.
I'm not in any way prepared for this.
But I think it's better that way, because when the
true.
questions were coming in that were going to be for both of us, I thought, well, this is no fun. It's not surprising if I was thinking about some of the answers and that's not.
Now I know how the guests feel. I'm usually in the driving seat.
Yeah. So you're the one under pressure. Not under pressure. It's all very fun and conversational as always. But I thought it was good. So I've got some questions from people that have sent them on Instagram and some from previous guests that I think are really interesting. But do you agree? It just makes sense to sort of stop
100%,
and check in and...
And I think it's, we've had a great time shooting what we've done. And obviously we've got loads more really cool guests coming on. But it's nice to check in just us two so that you can, find out a little bit more about us. In case you didn't see the first episode. We could talk for England.
Well, some of the questions that came in were things that we covered before. I'm like, how well are you listening?
I know. My daughter did this. I was like, is there any questions? She's like, well, you could say this. And I was like, you clearly didn't listen to the first episode.
Well, one of the first questions that came in was from a guy called Dermot, and he was asking how long you've lived here.
Okay, so a year and a half, I'd say. I moved here in September 2023. That's right. Yeah. So in September it'll be 2 years, which has just gone by in a flash.
Yeah.
Like so quickly. I can't believe it.
Crazy.
Best move ever.
Oh, I've constantly been saying like 2.5 years, and that suddenly occurred to me this summer it's going to be 3.
That's crazy.
What was supposed to be a gap year, family gap year. Let's go and see if we like it. And sugar, 3 years. Well, almost. Yeah.
Go for the long stay.
It's crazy.
But then I think, looking around at our friends that we tend to play paddle with and, like hang out with, there seems to be a big influx over the last, I'd say, 4 years. Would you say?
Well, I've not been here for 4 years, but I think most of us have moved here.
Everybody's story seems to be 4 years, 3 years.
Yeah. Post-COVID.
Yeah. Then you've got the OGs like Harriet, who's been
here. And
years
actually,
and years.
The guy who asked the question's been here for about 30 years. So my response back, I asked him, how long have you lived here? And he said, like 30-something years. And I was like, I need you on the podcast. I want to find out about the changes in that time.
There must be some real changes, for sure.
Crazy. Completely different place. Anyway, another one that came in was from Kate, and she was asking about your day job, because I think we touch on it on the podcast from time to time. But when I read that question, I thought, actually, give you a chance to chat about what you do. And
well, I'm an interior designer, so I make people's houses look very lovely. I'm working on a couple of projects at the minute. In fact, soon to be another one. All around this area of kind of Valdeloba, Quinta at the minute. Got some other work in the offing. Just people who have just bought a house, or they want to redo their house, or we sometimes stage properties that aren't selling on the market, and so I go in there, consult with the clients, have an idea of what they want. We have a certain style. I have a business partner as well, Rebecca. Hi, Rebecca. And we have a certain style which we so people buy into our style. We don't just do kind of any old style as per what a client would like, because I just don't feel like you really do your best job on that if it's not your personal kind of taste and style. So we have it's like a modern Mediterranean, organic modern look, which really suits the climate here. And so then, we just pretty much turn people's houses into... I always walk out of a project, actually, and feel really jealous that I'm not living there. So that's how I know I've done a good job, is I'm like, oh, yeah, I really want that. So that's what I do as a day job.
And that's so cool.
Yeah.
Oh, well, next couple of questions have been sent in from Harriet and Miguel. So lovely Harriet from Maria's and Algarve Jewellery that we never fail to plug. She's had some really interesting questions, actually. Some about Portugal, some others. But one that I liked was, are there any Portuguese cultural traits or traditions that you love that you've ended up integrating into your own life?
Oh my goodness, Harriet, what are you doing? That's a really tricky question with no.
I know. That was the one I was thinking about most when I was reading them. Oh, what's the answer to that? Any Portuguese cultural traits or traditions that you love or you've ended up integrating into your life? Given I've had a heads up on this, I can jump in and answer it while you think.
Yeah, go on. What would you say on that one?
Well, I was thinking long and hard, and it's not so much a cultural trait or tradition, but I think for me, one thing I've had to incorporate into my life is just patience and a slower pace.
Slower way of life.
Because I think when I came here, I expected everything to be as fast as it was back home. And I think initially I find it quite frustrating that, you know, especially in a work environment, I send an email, I want to respond straight away, or, you know, you ask for something to be done, you know, and you expect it to be done at a certain speed. And sometimes the pace here is quite different, and I find that quite frustrating. Yeah. So I think instead of pushing against it, I now lean into it. And, you know, in a work environment where I might maybe send an email to get an answer to something, I kind of read the person, and if they're maybe like a Portuguese developer or, you know, then is it more relevant to actually be face to face and have a coffee with someone and take your time to have a chat, especially when there's, you know, maybe a language barrier, or, you know, English would be their second language. So, you know, just slow the pace down instead of being so snap.
I think that's really true what you've just said about doing the whole coffee, because I know, like, with regard to the podcast and stuff, you and I do coffees with potential sponsors, potential guests a lot. And I think that's probably something I would have shied away from before. You know, the whole, oh no, let's just do it all on email, let's do it all on text. And actually, like you say, it's just so much more of a personal experience. That's maybe one thing here, is it's more of a personal experience. Yeah. It's more face to face. It's not everybody hiding behind a computer and, you know, email, ping, 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 like you say, the whole, and it has been a really good thing. And it's definitely pushed me out of my comfort zone to be meeting people all the time. But yeah, I think you're right. It's definitely a good way of doing things, and that people do. And also the whole getting used to the closing between 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock.
Or the long lunches. Yeah.
Which is just nuts, because that is always the time where I think, oh, I just need to go around the corner and get some bread from that shop. And then I'm like, no, they are all... But it's not a siesta like Spain.
No.
They don't sleep. They actually just go and recaffeinate.
Yeah, but like
which is great.
To actually sit down with their, you know, family members and have a long lunch, and as you say, maybe a coffee and a chat, whatever after. But I mean, I do it when I have to, and, you know, it tends to be more of I feel I'm going to have a lunch rather than a coffee. Yeah. But I still resist that one, because I have such a short day. Like, you know, I'm often on the school run at 3:30, and I cannot be taking a 2-hour lunch break. So for me, it's like
coffee is great.
Coffee's
just enough for me, I think. I don't think I'm a lunch either. I'll do lunch with friends.
Maybe we'll get to that point eventually. You know, we'll have.
Maybe if there's any sponsors out there who want to do lunch and sponsor us.
So back to Harriet's question, any cultural traits or any traditions that you've incorporated into your family life?
Any traditions? Have you any traditions?
I don't really know that many.
No, me neither. I am learning Portuguese though, so I'm trying to. Although I was listening to, in my Portuguese lesson the other week, and I probably shouldn't say this, but she was telling me about, I think it's called Matança de Porco, which is like basically a party for the pig, but not in a good way. Where the pigs, it tends to be more like farmland and, you know, inland. And I really apologise to any Portuguese people if I'm getting this wrong. But they basically have a little piglet, and then they raise it. And then obviously they kill the pig, like obviously what happens on farms, and a lot of people kind of farm to table. But they kind of dance around it whilst they're like killing it and invite all the family members to join in that. and I'm kind of a little bit shell shocked. So that's one thing I won't be
You're not going to be celebrating.
repeating. No.
Do you think you're much more open to obviously learning about Portugal and,
Yeah, I love it.
learning?
I'm really desperate to be fluent at some point. I don't know how long that's going to take me, but I'm determined.
Yeah.
You know, when people say to you, oh, that's it, you won't last that long because it's so hard. And,
Yeah.
oh, I'll give you X amount of time before you've had enough. And that's almost like red rag to bull to me, because I just think, no, I'm determined to do it.
Yeah, I think my first barrier to learning the language was that so many people told me it was going to be so difficult.
Yeah.
A couple of friends from Brazil, when I told them I was moving here, were like, "Oh, the language is so difficult. You're really going to struggle."
Yeah.
And yes, it's difficult. Any new language is difficult, but
But it does start to make sense. You get past a certain point and it starts to be understandable. I understand a lot, but because I'm learning all the verbs and this, that, and the other, it's like there's 57 million verbs and forms of verbs. So I'm just kind of like, okay, I feel like I'm back at school. But yeah, I'm determined to be fluent at some point.
But I'm impressed we're both having lessons. There's so many people who live here and have lived here for years and years and can barely, say please and thank you and basic phrases. So we'll get there. We'll get there. We're going to have to persevere. Okay. Next question was, is there something? Sorry. What has been the thing that surprised you the most about living in Portugal?
Surprised me in such a good way is how open and friendly people are. So the Portuguese are very friendly anyway, but everybody I've met, especially given it's like an expat community, I'd say, there's just like no bitchiness, there's no cliqueiness, you don't walk out of a room and think people are talking about you once you've left. All those kind of, that can be, because, like we're girl groups, and I just feel like everybody's so open to doing stuff together. It's a really outdoor lifestyle. So, even from, we go and play paddle on a Sunday morning when the weather's good, Harriet Miguel might say, oh, come to Maria's for sundowns later. And everybody just goes, yeah, I'll see you. And everybody with kids, the kids are down there because they'll just go onto the beach and we'll be on the rails and just have a drink, watch the sunset. And guys, girls, everything. And it's been great because obviously Simon, my husband, is going back and forward to the UK because of work commitments. And, so I was worried that, sometimes when you meet a load of girls, not necessarily all the time the husbands may get on. But that's just not been the case. So he's now got his kind of tribe here as well. So
that's
it's
good,
just, yeah. So it just really pleasantly surprised me that I didn't have to, be all intimidated about entering groups or making friends, because it was just so organic and so easy.
Yeah, that's good.
That's been amazing for me. Yeah.
Next one is, if you could transport yourself back in time for 24 hours, where would you go?
Wow. Who asked that one?
That's another one of Harriet and Miguel's. But Cam actually asked a really similar question. And maybe I'll jump to that one actually. Cam asked, if you could be anyone for a day, who would you be? I guess it's kind of similar.
Yeah, who would I be? Mine's going to be completely superficial.
Go on then.
Somebody would give some, really important person in the world.
Politician or world leader?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't do anything of that. But, oh my goodness, I don't know. What about you?
Yeah, I should have given this a bit more thought. Who could it be for? Well, I guess we've got the opportunity to go back in time. I don't know. I was thinking this morning about Martin Luther King and
you're going to do all that and there's me going some famous actress or supermodel.
Just to listen to a really famous speech and be there and feel the the feelings of I don't know, sense how that was for people listening to that at that time. I don't know, or an American president when they're having to make a really big decision, not to be that person, but just to be in the room and
be in the room and see.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, there's so many events actually that you would.
There must be way more fun people though, famous person. I don't know,
Yeah, I don't know. It's a hard one, isn't it? I don't even know who my 3 people at the dinner table would be. We always ask that to a guest, and I'm not quite sure who mine would be.
There has to be somebody that you swap places with for a day?
I don't know. I'll have to think about that and then maybe come back to it because I can't think. I really, truly can't think. But if I could transport myself back for 24 hours and be somewhere, well, I could say something really controversial, or I could keep it. I would probably. Oh no, maybe it's a bit out there.
Go on.
Well, I've just gone through a very, very lengthy court case with Virgin Atlantic, so I wonder if I could maybe transport myself back to the meeting room when they decided on what they decided on that came up with our win. So, yeah, maybe that would be mine, just to see exactly what went down.
Fly on the wall.
Fly on the wall would have been quite interesting, I think. Yeah, so.
We need to come up with some fun answers to this. It has to be like pop star delivering like the best, biggest
24
performance.
hours. Gosh, I don't know.
Yeah,
I really don't know.
Let's move on. We'll maybe think of something after. The other thing that was asked was around a place. If you could just, snap your fingers and be somewhere gorgeous. That,
At the minute, I really want to go to Bali. I have it in my head that I want to go to Bali. So maybe
have you?
that.
You must have been before, though.
No, I haven't.
Okay.
No, I've been to some incredible places, but not Bali. So I'd quite like it. Or Maldives. Maldives looks quite gorgeous. What about you?
Do you know what? Maldives been like
Have you?
4 times, but so 3 times pre-kiddies and then once with the kids, and I was building it up, saying how glorious it was going to be and like the best scuba diving in the world. Obviously the kids can't scuba dive yet, but they can snorkel, and just telling them it's just going to be the most fabulous place. And I got there first day, just took the kids out like on a snorkel boat trip, whatever, and I could have cried. I couldn't get back on the boat quick enough. I was so disappointed.
No.
Yeah, it just wasn't the place that
Really?
Well, it's changed so much. I mean, obviously there are still pockets where it's fabulous, and I was maybe a bit unlucky that, the site they'd taken us to wasn't as good. But what I remember is just swimming, stepping off the beach and putting your face in the water with a snorkel mask on was just the most glorious experience. And sadly, we're killing the planet. It was, for me, it was like, everyone talks about.
And was it the same place you went to?
No, I've been like 4 different islands, but the previous 3 were all the same, very similar in the sense that the snorkeling and the diving, marine life was just phenomenal, like mind-blowingly beautiful. And when I took the kids and built it up, that it was going to be, don't get me wrong, fabulous place, of course, go back there in a heartbeat. But I think because I had the expectation, of what it was. But anyway,
oh gosh,
Bali was a bit the same, to be honest. Hate to say, but anyway, still gorgeous.
But there's lots of paddle camps in Bali.
Yeah, we can do that. And
I think we need to do a girls' paddle camp.
And it is fabulous. But yeah, I've still got loads of.
I'd love to go to Sri Lanka, but I think there's a little bit of unrest there, so maybe now's not the time. But I just kind of want to go far afield on some, the holiday where you literally just down tools and you go to a hotel where you don't have to, or a resort where there's different restaurants. All you have to do is pretty much just come out the shower and go straight to the restaurants.
I think that's definitely Maldives, because you don't have that pressure of, I need to go to that. There's loads of things that, you probably should do when you're there.
You don't want to be driving around. You don't want to be going to the supermarket.
Yeah, just beach holiday. Yeah, nice. I've still got loads of places on my travel bucket list, so maybe we'll
tie them all up. Yeah,
sounds good.
Maybe we'll shoot the podcast from all different locations.
That would be nice.
Sponsorship needed.
I think we need to. I think we need to start working our way through a bit more of Portugal first. That's kind of been my priority.
Actually, and we did have a chat about this the other day in one of our meetings, didn't we? That maybe we'd do some pop-ups in maybe Lisbon and Porto. Yeah. That would be good. Yeah. So, Juliana, Lofty, you're in on that with us.
Road trip for
the team.
Road trip to Lisbon, definitely not to Porto though. It's short flight. Cam asked another couple of questions actually, so I'm just going to jump in with a few more of those. One was, is there one thing you regret?
I try not to do regrets, because I do think, even though some things you look back and think, oh my goodness, I wish I hadn't done that, I do think they're part of your kind of journey to where you are now. You have to go through the kind of cringe, or you have to go through the, there's a lot of things where, you just shouldn't have regrets. Do you have regrets?
Yeah.
I just think, I just try and draw the positive out of so many situations. like everything, I think. And because I'm always trying to look for the positive in situations, if I think of something that was negative, I always then kind of, without realizing, kind of shapeshift it into that's what came out of it that was positive. So I kind of had to go through that negative side of it.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, things like that. You know, when stuff's happened to you in the past, or then you think, but then look what I've achieved. You know, like, so for me, I referenced it a minute ago, the Virgin Atlantic thing. I was made redundant in the pandemic, and I don't think I would have ever closed that door because I loved that job. I absolutely loved it. And I did it for 23 years, and I couldn't imagine ever that not being part of my life. But if that had not happened, I wouldn't be here because I wouldn't have commuted from here. I wouldn't have looked at, at even, because going abroad twice a month on trips kept me, because I struggle with the UK climate, and I just being in the UK all the time just absolutely stifled me. But when I was at Virgin, I would go to Barbados and New York in a month, and then the next month I'd go to South Africa and the Caribbean, and so it kept me international, and it kept me out of the UK just twice a month, and so I never really acknowledged how unhappy I was in the UK until that all came to an end. And then I was looking, obviously, to get out of the UK, which brought me to here. And, it's the same with the pandemic. We were meant to go on holiday to America, like we always did. But because of the pandemic, we weren't allowed into America, so we had to come here, which I'd never been before. So it was just a kind of, let's go use a friend's place. And then I fell in love with it and ended up living here and living my best life. So I kind of think, things happen that are not great, but then look what comes out, the positive from them.
Take the negative situation and...
Yeah, and I really do that with, like, I'd say most of my life, I always look for the positives. And not because I'm trying to push myself to look for the positive. I just think my brain naturally does it,
I love that.
Yeah, I really love that I do that. It's just the way my brain works. I just don't really focus on bad stuff. I give it the moment it needs, but then I just automatically think of, like, the positive that's come out as a response from that. So so here I am.
Well, you've touched on previous career quite a bit, and I guess this ties into one of the questions that was asked from a previous guest called John, and he'd asked if you could do any career in the world, what would you be and why? So whether that's right now or maybe at some point in the past, if you were younger, made different choices, what if you could have any career in the world, what would it be and why?
Do you know what? I think I always secretly wanted to be, well, I say wanted to be. Well, I didn't, because I didn't do anything about it at any given point in my life. But I think if you could have been anything, like when I was younger, I probably would have said actress maybe or something.
Really?
Yeah, something probably in front of the camera, I think, weirdly. Even though I constantly, like, moan at Juliana how bad I look on camera.
Go back to being 21 and do it.
Yeah. Exactly. But then, like, if I'd have gone through doing what my degree was, which was in cognitive science, I thought I was going to become a clinical psychologist or a criminal psychologist or something, which I didn't do that at all. But back then I would have said, I desperately want to be a psychologist. Then I had a photography career, so I loved being a photographer. But then I suddenly hated being a photographer. So, which is why I admire Juliana so much with what she does, because my love for it just literally fell off a cliff very quickly. I think we used to photograph a lot of weddings. So we were flying around the world photographing weddings. And with the kind of advent of Pinterest, you found that a lot of the brides didn't necessarily want you for your work. They wanted you to just recreate what they'd seen on Pinterest. So it became very robotic, very, not great. We were doing a lot. We shot the front cover of OK magazine once. Kerry Katona, do you remember? So we did a 10-page spread of hers.
Sure, she's had more than one.
It wasn't a wedding. It
was
okay. Just her and her kids at this Halloween farm that we were booked to do, and it was great. And we ended up in some amazing situations and fabulous things. But when we were coming out of doing the photography, I thought I wanted to then do, because Pinterest was becoming so big, but when you looked on Pinterest, you saw all this amazing stuff, but you didn't know where to buy it. Whereas now Pinterest is very monetized, so you know exactly where to buy everything. But back then you didn't. So I wanted to be this business where you could find everything that you'd found on there, say for your wedding, and we would be the company that would supply everything that you found on there. We'd, you know, have that available. So that was what I thought I was going to do. And then I went with a friend of mine who had a little interior shop, little gift shop, to one of her interior suppliers to see if I could source all stuff for weddings. And basically, I just went in there and I went, yeah, I don't want to see a wedding again. My heart is in interiors.
Oh,
and
really?
that was where I
love.
just flipped into interiors. So, and I have to say, I love what I do as an interior designer. So saying what would be your dream job if you could do anything, I absolutely love what I do. I love doing this podcast. This has just been mind-blowingly such a surprise in such a good way. I love doing it. But yeah, the interiors, and I'd love to maybe have my own collection at some point of furniture and just scale it, really. So yeah, that's it.
Love that.
What
So
about
you're
you?
living the dream, Claire.
Well, not quite, but maybe at some point. But what about you?
Oh, I didn't give any thought to this question at all. I don't know. I'm quite happy with what I'm doing.
But you love what you're doing.
Yeah,
You're very good
do.
at it.
Yeah, and it's crazy because it's not, it's not something you plan for 5 years to do it. It's happened very organically. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm not medical. My sort of worst, if you ask me to choose any job I would hate to do, I would hate to be like a doctor or, have anything like a vet or anything medical.
Really?
I just, even in those
I'd love to be a
environments
vet.
of, being in a hospital or, vet's surgery, it just makes me want to, I don't know, just,
Really?
yeah, I hate needles, hate that whole environment. So that would
You'd
be like
very
my
glamorous vet.
I don't even really like animals that much. That would be the worst job.
That is true, I have to say.
But yeah, it's something I want to do. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'll.
Who knows?
Yeah, I'll give that one some thought.
Yeah. The world's your oyster.
Jumping around a little bit, but there was one question that came in from someone, and I thought, oh, Claire's. And in fact, this is probably the question that made me think, I want to interview you today. I want to ask you all the questions.
Okay.
So the question came in from a lovely girl called Vicky, who's a personal stylist. I don't think you know her, but I'm sure you'd love her.
Okay.
Her Instagram's Hattie and Vic. She's
Okay.
super. You need to check her out. So her question, when it came in, I was like, this is way more relevant to Claire. Don't ask me this because I'm not stylish, but you are. So her question was 3 words to describe your personal style and your best fashion find.
Oh,
this is a total you question.
It is totally me because I love my fashion. Although people might not agree with that when they see the outfits I put together. What's my best fashion find?
Yes, 3 words to describe your personal style and your best fashion. She kind of got 2 questions into one there, didn't she?
Okay,
best
my
fashion
personal
find.
style. Well, it's funny because, and I have this conversation with my sister sometimes. Sometimes I wake up and I think I want to be preppy today. Sometimes I wake up and I think I want to be edgy, Isabel Marant today. Sometimes I want to be more classic. It kind of just depends on my mood. But I'd say I'm probably more the edgy Isabel Marant style. That's probably my thing. Got my Isabel Marant boots on now, actually, which my latest fashion find, which I love. But I don't know. It's my girls always take me thrifting when we're in America, and I have like a mixed kind of feeling. I dread going, and we walk in, and it's Goodwill, which is gigantic. It's like warehouse size, and it's like a huge charity shop, and so doesn't smell great. Not gonna lie. And so I walk in and I just think, oh my God, I hate this. And the girls are like off literally going through every single rack, and they just get so much stuff and really good stuff. And I tend to head to menswear because I love my oversized blazers, my oversized blazers. I love the big men's shirts. You always find a lot of Ralph Lauren shirts in the men's department. Or waistcoats. So I tend to come out of there with a bit of a find of my own, which goes straight in the wash because there's that smell. But and it's just kind of so maybe that's my good fashion finds are the men's blazers that I find everywhere. Although at the minute I do feel like I look like a bit of an NFL player in them, so I'm less in them at the minute. Delusional.
Oh, the fact that you even give this so much like bandwidth or time or thought just blows my mind.
Really?
Yeah, I think I just shop like a man. It's like if I need something, I'll buy it, or if I find something I really like, I'll buy it in 3 colors. It'll be like transactional of like, I need gym gear, I need work stuff. Like I don't have
Really?
any
Not
style.
just go for
It's just more like
stop.
No, but it's like, I need gym gear, I'll buy gym gear. I need work stuff. I don't.
Do you know what I don't do is I don't buy for the sake of it, and I don't buy if I don't absolutely love it. And even if something is €9, I don't buy it if I don't love it. I refuse to have clothes hanging in my wardrobe that have got labels on. When I buy something, I want to immediately wear it, and I know when I'll wear it. And I don't like to have excessive amounts of clothes, which sounds really crazy because it sounds like I would because I'm so into my clothes. But I don't, because I don't like that. I think it's maybe the way I was brought up. I'm just not wasteful, and I don't like to have excess with stuff, and I don't just buy a load of, that's on trend, I'll just buy that and buy that and buy that. And I don't, if it doesn't really, where I think, I love that, I could wear that with that, then I'll buy it. And I still, even if something's €9, I literally still think, do I really want it? It's very crazy because then I might find something that's like very expensive. With my clothes, I tend to spend a lot more money on my shoes and boots and my bags. I don't have loads of designer bags, but I have like a few kind of really lovely ones. But then with my clothes, they tend to be, I'd say, more high street with the odd bit of maybe Morant thrown in or something, or Ralph Lauren thrown in. But I love the old money look. But on my age, I look old in it. So the old money look looks amazing on young girls. Like my daughters look great in that lovely old money look.
I don't even know what you're talking about. You lost me. I'm just like, get up in the morning, put clothes on. Don't
be silly.
Like, I wish I knew more. Like, I wish I cared more.
I you always look so lovely. Yeah. I just look like you're kind of like naughty sister, I think, because you always look so put together and like, because you obviously dress quite corporate for, your job. And so I'm so well turned out. And then I just feel like I'm a little bit like, dragging me along behind you.
I think we've kind of learned to like not care about what each other wears.
No, because we're different in the way that we dress. And I just think if you just start dressing yourself in, you should never, ever, ever go out in an outfit that you're not comfortable in. And I've learnt that just where I've thought, oh, do I like this? Oh, I'm not quite sure. And then I'll think, yeah, I think I like it. And then I've left the house and the whole day I've been so uncomfortable, like secretly, because I've just thought, oh my God, I just hate what I'm wearing. It just like fills my whole head. So.
I think the best example of how different we are is when we did the first photo shoot before we'd even launched the podcast or recorded the first episode. And we agreed that we should probably coordinate or, at least kind of whether the colour palette be similar or, style be a bit similar. And then... yeah, we kind of realised at that point straight off the bat we're so different. Yeah. And I think we did maybe at least communicate in the past about, okay, I might wear this today, you're going to wear that one, whatever. But I mean, I'm past care. Like I think we realised quite quickly it doesn't matter.
Your outfit has to be so personal. Like I say, there's no point in us trying to... dress the same and sit on the sofa.
And, being the lazy person that I am.
That's so not true.
The reality is jump straight from work, jump in here for an hour, do a quick podcast, straight back to work. First couple of times I changed and now I'm like, nah, I'm not even gonna care enough to do that. So we are so different in that regard. But I don't know, I think sometimes our differences are probably a good thing. Anyway, we've got a couple of other quick questions to get through before we wrap up. Elizabeth, who we had on a couple of weeks back, who we love.
A great episode.
Yeah. Asked a question. I was like, I don't know if I can ask this. This could be a bit controversial.
No, I'm scared.
But she asked, what has been your favourite podcast? I guess.
Oh, that is too controversial because there's something from everyone.
Yeah.
Do you know what I've learnt since doing this, and I think you might agree with me, is you have almost like a preconceived idea of how that episode's going to go, and then it turns out nothing like you thought. And sometimes you think, oh, I don't know whether we'll be able to ask that much about, will it be interesting on this? And then we're literally sat there like enthralled by these stories. And that's been the biggest thing for me with these podcasts. So I don't have a favourite. I've got favourite pieces from every episode.
Give me a couple of highlights. Go on. In no particular order, so we're not going to offend anyone. Who surprised you the most?
Oh, gosh.
Too many questions all at once.
Too many questions. I don't know. Who surprised you the most?
Probably the one person that we knew least about. So Paul, who we'd literally met like a night or 2 nights before.
And that was just mind-blowing.
It was, John had said, oh, you bring him on for a chat. And I don't know, like I wish I could almost get him back on and ask him like a whole load more questions. I find him really interesting. They've all been similar. I think I've taken snippets from each of them. I think Miguel really surprised me because obviously know Harriet and Miguel really well, see them all the time, but I'm so used to seeing fun Miguel, at Maria's or at Bamboo or, sociable and jolly. And I find when he came on the podcast, he probably surprised me the most because he was, sensible business person with, loads to say about this area and the government and, things that I guess I've never really spoken to him about. So I just saw an entirely different, that's someone that I know that I just saw a different side of. Danny as well. I mean, I know Danny, we moved here at the same time and I just thought, you're going to find out about him, but I already know him, and there's loads of things that he shared that I had no clue about. Elizabeth, again,
Elizabeth was fabulous.
I know,
but because I thought, we'd obviously cover, what Elizabeth does with all her neuroscience and everything, but then listening to her background, and then, obviously talking about the kind of age that I am, and that kind of way that your life shape shifts. That became so almost like personal, that episode, where I just thought, oh my goodness, this is like, what I'm going through or what I'm about to go through or whatever. So that was so good for that. Cam's was amazing in her stories of when she was acting with everybody.
She's another one we could get back on. And
I definitely want Cam back on the show. Isabella was great in, telling us all about her fitness and the way that Isabella goes to bed. She changes into new gym gear before she goes to bed, sleeps in it so that she's ready to get up in the morning and go.
But I think she was so refreshingly honest.
Very honest for somebody who is so out, like famous and, has a media kind of profile. And so it's been good. And now I feel bad because I feel like we're not mentioning everybody, but there's literally been something on every episode where I've thought, and also when you start doing this podcast, I don't know about you, but I thought, oh gosh, what happens if we run out of things to say? And, it's a bit tumbleweed. And in the end, we've just had it, Juliana walking past. She needs like a leotard and a big plaque saying how many minutes we've got left. But it's always come to the point where we've gone, oh no, we've run out of time because there's so much more to ask. So I'm just loving it. Are you loving it?
I am. No, it's really good. Well, we may as well call this the quick fire question that we always give to the guests. It's final one. And I think, given it's Portugal Diaries, it's relevant we get one final one in relating to Portugal. So the last question for you, Claire, is what's one thing you wish you knew before you moved to Portugal that would have made your life easier?
Oh my goodness, what's that one going to be? I wish I'd have known that suppliers for furniture and fixings aren't as easy as in the UK. So sourcing has been a little bit tricky, but we found it. We go through Spain. I joke about my bathroom that I did in my house, my new ensuite, which is beautiful. I'm blowing my own trumpet on that because it's gorgeous. And I call it like the United Nations in that room because my 3 lights above my mirror and in my shower are from the UK. My tiles are from Spain. My floor tiles are from Portugal. My sinks are from Turkey. My brass hardware for the taps in the shower are from Italy. And the bottle traps underneath the sink are from Morocco.
Wow.
So, and that is because you just can't find everything here. It's really thin on the ground for good interiors pieces, whether that's sinks, taps. There's quite a generic look here, I would say. It's very developer. It's very can be a bit blingy, bit polished, bit shiny. And if you are going more organic in your kind of vision, then it's not really available here. So you have to kind of shop further. And that was the biggest learning thing, I'd say. But another thing that I'll just quickly say about on a more personal note is and it's not making life easier, but it's a change I've noticed here, and I think I've referenced it on a podcast, is I noticed that all my fruit and veg and my bread goes off like much quicker here, which I find really good because it means that it's not full of rubbish. So that's been something that I like for the best. But I don't know about anything making my life easier. What about you?
I guess for me, the process of just, what I needed to do when I needed to do it, like the crew process and, setting up all your little things like NIF number, in hindsight, I wish I'd just gone to a company that just talked me through the process. I mean, mine was super easy because I've got an Irish passport, but yeah, I probably wasted time and going into the, the finance office and, they made me cry once. So, but, I didn't speak any Portuguese then. So I think, in hindsight, just, get someone to do it for you or ask someone that's already been through the process. It's probably just don't waste energy or time, And
there's some really good people here, like lawyers. And when you find that good person, they will literally do everything for you and be so helpful above and beyond. The guy that we bought our house through, Joao, so hi Joao, he's just become a really good friend of ours actually. So not only did he sell us the house, and he literally went above and beyond, but he's helped us with going to finances to sort out this, that and the other. I had a bit of an issue with something that came up with the GNR and so he helped find somebody to help deal with that. And he's just been if anything goes wrong, if I can't understand something or I need to do something, I'm like, hi Joao, it's me again. And and I just find there are a lot of people here are so helpful like that.
So I think to answer that last question, it's to find the people who can help you, because for me now things are so easy. I don't waste time. If I know there's something relating to that, I know who I don't even call, to drop an email, dealt with quickly, and it takes away the stress. But
so hang on, does that mean that I get to, on the next one of me and you, I get to sit there with the cards
absolutely
and put you on the spot?
Why not? So I think we do the next 10. Well,
the next 10, and then those guests we're going to email and ask what their questions
ping
are
in a few
for
questions
you.
And you can put me on the spot, and if I can't answer it, I'll bat it straight back to you the way you've done.
I deflected.
But I'm just excited that we've wrapped up the first 10. We've got the next 10 in plan.
Got some great guests coming on.
Yep.
Got a couple of sponsors who are interested. So if you are thinking of you want to advertise with us or sponsor with us, then get in touch, because we're open to that.
Well, I think it's definitely a good time to touch on Fial, so that they've been phenomenal, and before we'd even recorded or they'd heard the first episode, they really just
jumped on board with us,
had a leap of faith and liked what we were doing, or liked what we told them we were planning to do, and I love that, and I'm really grateful for that. And hopefully, I hope they see the value in that. I said to you last night, we never stop and look back at numbers or figures or who's looking at what. We kind of do what we can. We're both busy, but occasionally put some Instagram posts out. And last night I screenshotted you. It was over 100,000 viewers last month, and I was like, who are these people?
Which is really, really good.
Why are they even interested? But no, I think great that we've had.
So we're really thankful for our audience, and
definitely
keep going and let us know. Message us, always message us if there's something that you want to see, or
questions to ask,
a guest you want us to have on within reason.
But actually, even just I know someone who'd be great for your podcast. We've had that a lot, and actually that's
turned out to be really good guests.
Very good guests, very good guests. But I think since we are stopping to reflect back, the other two people we need to thank are Juliana and Lofty, because
who's sitting behind the camera over
they've
there.
been so patient with us. We have been learning as we go. Neither of us have done a podcast before. Neither of us really had a clue. Still learning, still lots to learn, I'm sure. But you guys have been phenomenal. So thank you.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
here's to the next 10. As Julianne is looking at me saying, it's definitely time to wrap up.
Yes,
but anyway,
yeah.
thank you, Claire. You've been a wonderful guest.
Thanks for putting me on the spot, and thanks to all our guests for asking those questions that I couldn't even answer.
So that concludes today's podcast.
Today's episode.
This is your bit.
Well, thanks for listening to today's episode. I hope I haven't been a boring guest. But don't forget to subscribe, rate and review when you listen to us on Spotify, Apple, YouTube. And don't forget to follow us on our socials at the Portugal Diaries podcast on Instagram. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Claire.
Thanks, Jen.